Hello, everyone. Welcome all. Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar for month of November 2023, hosted by Organization Development and Change or Workforce Education Development Program at Penn State. As all of you know, this is a monthly webinar series presented during our lunch hour. My name is Isa Al-Balushi, and I'm a PhD candidate in the Workforce Education Development Program at Penn State University. I'll be moderating today's webinar along my colleagues, Jose Sandoval, who's also a PhD candidate in the Learning Design and Technology Program at Penn State. In terms of interactive format for this webinar, please use the chat feature in the Zoom platform. If you have any questions about the presentation, please use chat feature on Zoom. You can see the chat button at the bottom of the screen. Also, the Q&A session will be at the end of the presentation. Let's say the last 10 to 15 minutes. Regarding our program, our online Master of Professional Studies in Organization Development and Change are designed for professionals who need the skills and knowledge to effectively lead change in the organization. Furthermore, there is a PhD program in Workforce Education and Development, which is a concentration in the human resource development, career development, and organization development. Our program has created a continuous monthly webinar series with experts around the world. Today, we are presenting how you can create a positive change at work, presented by Dr. Kimberly Barker. I think you are fully aware about her bio, which we shared in our Eventbrite page. So now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our speaker today. Dr. Barker, the floor is yours.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Isa and Jose. I so appreciate this invite to come and speak with you today. Let's see if I can. There we go. So I'm Kim Barker. My bio's there. You've probably read it. I teach full-time at Eastern Michigan University for the Management Department, College of Business. I also have a pretty active YouTube page. It's Kimberly Barker, PhD. I have a lot of videos. My goal is how to help people live their best life at work, which is part of my mission, and it's very important to me. I also have a couple playlists there that use all the videos I use in my classes, which I think are among the best on YouTube. So feel free to check those out. And of course, there's my contact information if you would like to reach me for any reason. So I spent 4 years writing this book with my co-author, Mary Cecchinese. And the reason we wrote this book is we wanted to empower people at work and in their lives. Studies have shown that when people are recognized for their work, they are 23% more productive. When people feel valued or appreciated at work, they are 43% more productive. Now, it's not about how can you get more out of people, right? And have them be more productive, but there is a very positive correlation that when people feel that they're making a difference, right? And that people want them to be there, it does truly impact the work, their performance at work. So here is the agenda. These are the 4 fuses that my co-author, Mary Cecchinese, and I came up with. The first one is forging a positive workplace. The second one is the upside of change. The third, a strengths-based approach. And the fourth is engaging in high-quality connections. So if you can see the F, the U, the S, the E, we came up with this fuse. And it's really about how can you propel your organization, hence the rocket ship, to propel it to higher levels. I want to thank you for inviting me. I just feel so honored today. And I really, really would like to thank you for joining us. This is, I know we have so much competing for our time and our interests these days. And I just really want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I will be asking a lot of questions throughout this webinar. So I'd really like to have the chat be very lively and, something that we can kind of be interactive that way. So again, this is my co-author, Mary, and myself. This is on the back of our book. And another reason we wrote this book, something we kind of thought of recently, is how to keep your employees from quiet quitting, right? That's the new, that's kind of the new phrase right now. People are quiet quitting. They're at their job, but they're kind of disengaged, right? According to a recent study by Gallup, only 34% of employees define themselves as engaged. 50% say they're unengaged and have no energy or passion for their work. And 16% said they are actively disengaged with their work, in their work. And so you don't want to be that employee, right? You don't want to have those employees work for you, right? You want your people. I mean, I don't know if you want them hopping and skipping and singing into work every day, but you want them happy to be there and hopefully being able to make a difference. So our Fuse one in creating a positive workplace. How do you create that atmosphere, culture, if you will, that is positive and people can feel it? And our chapter 1 of the book is all about creating compassion at work. And I love the word aloha. Some of you know I lived in Hawaii a number of years ago, and aloha at its base is alufa. That is, I think that's Samoan, and that means love. So really, love is aloha, and so how can you create that kind of love or compassion at work? It's not a romantic love. It's a love that is caring, right? Cares about your fellow person, your fellow employees. And how can you increase more of that at work? One way is to be present and listen to people, to truly listen. My mother used to say, the good Lord gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And sometimes I probably still need to be reminded of that. So really listen to people and be alert to their suffering when there is suffering, right? It's so incredible today. There's so much suffering out there. Being aware of when people are suffering and how you can help them, be empathetic, and not only just to be empathetic, but take action, right? If there's something you can do, sometimes it's just the little things that make all the difference in someone's day. So let me put this, or if we could just put this in the chat, how can you pay closer attention to the people you spend most of your day with? If you know someone who needs help, show empathy and see what you can do to help. Sometimes that just means offering a listening ear. So if you wouldn't mind, some of you to put some ideas in the chat of how you can do that. Oh, and I also want to recommend, if you can, maybe get out a piece of paper so that you can maybe jot down some ideas, some notes, things like that. That can always be helpful. I know sometimes if I don't write it down, it leaves me much sooner than than I'd like it to. I love Abby. Oh, hello, Abby. She says compliment them on their efforts of them showing up every day, right? I mean, really, yes, I think that's so important. Tell someone, thank you. I appreciate how hard you're working, right? The extra effort you're putting in. Put the phone away when you're speaking. Oh my gosh, yes. Letting them know they did a great job with a task. Oh, Lori, a handwritten note. Justin says he just shot a quick text to an employee. who was off for a friend's surgery to say they were thinking of them. Yes. I mean, that just really builds community, and people feel like they're part of a team. Take a break and connect. Thank you, Joanne. I mean, that's what it's really all about. And so how can you create that environment where people feel like they are truly valued and cared about? Our second chapter, we talk about forgiveness at work. And, forgiveness is really a touchy subject. And sometimes it's not very easy to discuss. But understanding the benefits of forgiveness is important for us to move on when a hurt has occurred. And sometimes it's not all about the other person that hurt you, right? Sometimes just holding a grudge does nothing to them, but it can truly have an impact on your life. So forgiveness is for you and not for anyone else. It does not necessarily mean reconciliation with the person that hurt you. It's really about letting go of that hurt. Give up expecting things from other people in your life, or what they choose not to do or do to you, and put your energy into looking for another way to get your priorities and goals met. In the end, forgiveness is a choice. It's not an easy one, but it is a choice. And I read a book a number of years ago. It's called Thriving Women, Thriving World. And they talked about putting a chair, an empty chair across from you, and telling someone that you forgive them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that before. But really, just clearing your space so that you have more room in your heart for things, I think is really, really important. So start small. Did someone cut you off today in traffic? Did someone upset you? Can you forgive them? Is there someone you need to forgive? Maybe jot down on a piece of paper that of somebody you need to reach out to, or somebody you need to just, take care of it on your own. I love to read. Reading is one of my favorite things to do in the world. And a number of years ago, I read the book, The Four Agreements. Have any of you read that book, The Four Agreements? Two of the agreements really, really stuck out to me. All four are incredible. But one is be impeccable with your word. Number two is don't take things personally. And number three, don't make assumptions. If someone cut me off in traffic, or if someone didn't hold the door open when I was, we'll say, younger, I used to be like, oh my gosh, are they mad at me? What did I do? Da, 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 da. And I just realized in time, it's not all about me, right? Everyone is so stressed and everyone has so much going on that I shouldn't take things personally if someone walks by and doesn't say hello, right? It might not have anything to do with me at all. So, and the fourth agreement is always do your best. And I just really love those four agreements because they really changed my thinking for a lot of things in the world. But just, take a minute to reflect. Is there somebody that you might want to get in touch with, or just, forgive them on your own? That could really make a difference in your life. Unleashing the power of gratitude. That was our third thing in creating a positive work environment. An attitude of gratitude is just so important. The benefits of expressing gratitude range from higher levels of positive emotions, better sleep quality, improved relationships, the ability to cope with everyday stress, and better physical health. Practicing gratitude is a choice and can be done simply by offering a smile to someone you encounter in an elevator, keeping a gratitude journal, handwriting a thank you note, or noticing things we take for granted every day. Do we take for granted that our significant other will have dinner ready when we get home after a long day? Do we take our jobs for granted, right? Are there things that we can express gratitude for? And let's just put some things in the chat that you are grateful for. Write down just a couple of things. Our health. I try to start out every class. What is something you're grateful for? And sometimes, especially in the beginning of the semester, I kind of have a hard time getting the students, to think of what is something they're grateful for. And I'm always like, hey, you're vertical. That in and of itself can be a good thing, right? You're up, you're about, you made it to class today. Um, Carissa says, my children, my husband, my animals, Justin, my wonderful family, Joanne, both parents are still here. Yes, I could not agree more with you. Um, I saw Ryan there somewhere. Let's see, Ryan. A lot of things are coming through. He's grateful for his parents, having a roof over his head, and his friends. Michelle, a friend of mine, just learned that her job is in jeopardy. So grateful that I am employed. Family, friends, an opportunity to have a job, flexibility in the job. Linda says, there were a lot of horrible things about COVID, right? But one thing that came out of that is a lot of employers are being more flexible with their employees and in the workplace. And I think that that is just wonderful. I think a lot of people are being kinder as well, which I really, really value and appreciate. Sadie, having a great work environment. Oh my gosh, yes. Hello, Sadie. Yes, that is just so important. And it's not something we should take for granted. If you have ever had that taken away from you, you know that it's something that you really, really should value. Our second fuse in our book is the upside of change. And think about change. What does change always have to end badly? I love this quote by Robert Redford. One of the things that will always be inevitable is change, full of both vague uncertainty and a brilliant promise. I love quotes. Rumi has a quote. Yesterday I was clever. I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. And that's what it's all about, right? Creating the change we want to see in the world. And realizing that not all change is bad. Reacting to change. I'm a big fan of the 5 whys, and sometimes more than five, right? How can you understand why the change is needed? Change just for change's sake isn't always fun. But if you really understand why the change is needed, and what is the thinking behind that? Is it a law or a regulation, right? Is it something that puts your company in a more competitive place in the marketplace? Understanding that really helps you kind of sell it to yourself, right? And those around you. I love Brene Brown's work. And this quote, the willingness to show up changes us. It makes us a little braver each time. And I just think that that is really, really true. When was the last time change ended positively for you? What did you learn from that situation? If you would be willing to share some things in the chat, what is something that changed that you thought might have been a negative thing and it ended up being really positive? And change can be good for us. According to the Huffington Post, there was an article, change is good. It's good to be pushed out of our comfort zone every once in a while, right? You receive more experiences. How boring would life be if everything was the same? Abby says she changed schools and it was so good for her academics and her personal growth. You find out who you really are, right? Through change. Um, you discover your strengths, weaknesses, sometimes your limitations, right? Change makes you more flexible and adaptable, and you have more fun. Again, you learn to accept change and its benefits. And that is just really, really a valuable tool to have. Kurt Lewin, when he first came up with his change model, it was unfreeze, move and change, and then refreeze, right? And that was, maybe that happened once a week, once a month. Now it seems like it happens every day, right? Amanda says, I'm a planner, and I was reminded that good things can happen when things are not planned. Oh my gosh, that is so true. Carissa said she's changing her careers. She's realized she's much happier working in recruiting rather than dentistry. It's been a wonderful change for her family as well because of the work-life balance. I had a student just contact me the other day. He had graduated with an accounting degree, and he says, I just realized I like dealing with people more than numbers. And, life is a journey, right? And we always have to have our plans, but we have to enjoy the ride, right? And also be open for continuous improvement. So I put him, in touch with some people, and he could do some more, introspection and assessments. And, maybe, uh, who knows what will become of it. Maybe there's a way to be hybrid, right? A numbers person and interact with people all the time, right? It's all about enjoying life with having continuous improvement. Joanne says she changed her mindset um, when she felt that she could not complete her master's. She found out that she had the inner strength to complete it. Yes. And, I think having achieved those hurdles, right, in life, they make you so much more resilient, right, that you can accomplish anything. And that can be really, really valuable. Finding positive ways to deal with change is really important. Tell your stories about change, right? Share or create meaningful and positive disruptions, right? If you have an idea that might help in a situation, show people how it might help, right? Instead of just telling people, kind of showing things can sometimes make all the difference. Always taking care of meaningful relationships. Celebrate successes. I love a good potluck. I used to be the potluck planning person in my department. We have so much diversity at our workplace that the potlucks are just amazing. But it brings everybody together, right? We all feel more connected. And invariably, we try not to discuss business, but always one or two things comes up, right? And we create conditions for growth, right? The ideas are shared. And I remember last year at our kind of Christmas get together, someone and I were talking about professional development, and they shared an idea with me, and I got so excited. I volunteered to head the committee and help institute this change because I just felt so passionately about it. And if we hadn't connected over that conversation, I wouldn't have known that that person felt the same way. And, we would have never been catalysts for change. So that can be really, really valuable. What change related items are important to you right now at work? How about in your personal life? What actions do you or can you take today? Do you need to take that can address these issues? I always tell my students, if those who are on this call, you've probably heard this 1,000 times. I love to address problems when they're small, change related problems or any issue, how can we better communicate over things? I like addressing it when the elephant is small. When the elephant gets big in the room, it seems to be a little overwhelming, right? So, how can you address these issues that need to be addressed today, right? First things first. How can you address those and go into your weekend feeling a whole lot better? Maybe it's just setting up an appointment with someone, right? Maybe it's putting something on the calendar for next week. You know that it's going to happen, and you'll feel a lot better about that. Our third fuse in the book is a strengths-based approach. So it's not about ignoring our weaknesses, but it's about really finding out what are your strengths and playing to those strengths. And we're all very complex characters, right? And and we all have a variety of strengths that we can build upon, and really identifying what those are. I read a book a number of years ago called The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Have any of you read that book? I mean, it just blew me away. And, it was a bestseller. And he just really talked about people who were unusual or different from society and have made a huge impact on our world. It turns out that continuous learning, getting creative, and being diligent were a big part of these people's success. Many other people that he described discovered what their strengths were and found out a way to make them work in a unique way in their world. Yes, Justin. I mean, I just love that book so much. I mean, that was one of my first books that I just sat there when it was over, and I was so sad that it was over. I wanted to read it again right away. And who are those people? Think about Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Oprah, Chip and Joanna Gaines, Ina Garten, David Bromstead. There's so many people out there that have just made really unique contributions to our world. And it all started small, right? It all started with them really realizing what their strengths were and being creative and figuring out how they could share that in the world in a creative manner. Ask yourself the question, how can I learn more about myself today? And if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat, how can you learn more about yourself today and what your strengths are? I don't know if you guys are anything like me, but I would bring home my report card. And, I was a pretty good student. Invariably, I'd have that 1B. And my parents would be like, oh, no, what happened? Oh, this was terrible, right? And of course, we always want to continue to work on our weaknesses, so to speak, right? But knowing what our strengths are very valuable as well. Abby says, challenge myself. Yes, by Ryan says, learning tasks of another job and maybe you'll like it. Yes, that's so true. Being that person that raises their hand at work and says, oh my gosh, I'll do that. I'll take care of that. I'll pick that person up from the airport, right? I'll drive them from the airport to work. I can have time with this person and pick their brain, right? Malik says, set goals. Yeah, set goals. That you can accomplish and reflect on their thoughts, stepping out of your comfort zone. It is so valuable. Each time you step out of your comfort zone, it gets a little easier, right? It gets a little easier to do that. And Joanne says, take professional development classes. Yeah. We all have room for improvement. And so how can we do that? To learn more about ourselves. And whenever you have the opportunity to take an assessment, I'm such a geek when it comes to those things. I'm like, oh, a new assessment. Maybe I can learn something new about myself, right? It's really fun to do that. And every time you learn new things that are unique about you. Shannon says, reassess her perspective and mindset. Yeah. Adjust with small incremental changes. Oh my gosh, yes. We don't have to take huge leaps, right? Amy Cuddy's TED Talk is one of my favorite in the world. She says tiny tweaks can make big changes, right? So be aware. Yeah. Shannon says, be aware of where you are and where you want to go, and being open. Every once in a while, the universe gives us a pleasant surprise, right? Something we didn't even expect along the way. Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you do better. I just love that quote. And I'm just forever grateful that I got to see her in person speak while she was alive, because I just think she was such an amazing thought leader. And and you do, when you know better, you do better, right? But you have to be a learning individual to know better. And that's what education does, right? Education, it sounds like we have a lot of people who are working on an education. And it's tough work, right? But when you know better, you do better. And the part of education is creating this lifelong learning, right? That makes us lifelong learners. And that is all about continuous quality improvement. So how can you be that team member that helps push, not push, but promote your team to be stronger and and better, right? How can you do that? Um, that's really important. So, what can you do today that will align you with your organization's goals? Do you know what your organization's goals are? Right? Not everyone knows what their company's mission, vision, and values are. Do you know what they are? And are they in line with your mission, vision, and values? And chapter 8, we talk about getting creative and problem solving. And I think, change and getting creative are, well, everything in this book, I think, is important. To me, those are just so important. And sometimes getting creative is just tweaking one little thing, right? But really knowing um, what is your customer's pain point, right? What is giving them discomfort that you can help make their life better, right? And I have since become a huge fan of design thinking. Last summer, we do a summer read every year at the EMU College of Business. And last summer, our book was Designing Your Life. And we had 3 sessions on designing your life, a framework that you can build a life in which you can thrive. And we have each of those discussions on my YouTube page. But the book is by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans, and it's all about how you can use design thinking to improve your life. So you can use it to improve your life, your customer's life, your business life. And it's all about this circular thinking, right? How can you empathize? How can you understand people, where they're at today, their pain points? How can you generate ideas, right? How can you, um, you know, there's no idea that should be left out, right? Even the craziest ideas lead to other ideas, right? I have been just amazed when I've been in a room and we've been, writing out all these ideas and what they lead to. It's just incredible. Um, how can you, well, figure out the problem, right? Prototype it, right? How can you create and ideate and experiment, right? And then test. I'm a huge fan of the pilot, right? Test and see, does this really work? Or can this really work? Sometimes things look really good on paper, and sometimes once you try it out, maybe you just need to tweak a couple little things even to make it better. Many times we quit. We quit before we are so close. We are so close to being there, and we stop. What if you didn't give up? What would you accomplish if you knew you could not fail? I had a very dear friend. Well, he's still a dear friend, Teo, and he was born and raised in East Germany, and this was before the wall came down, which it's my understanding we just celebrated an anniversary of the wall coming down, and and he said to me one day, he came to America in his teens, probably mid-teens. And he said, "Oh my gosh, it's so stressful in America. We have so much opportunity." Like I knew from the time I was 5 what I was going to do. He was the oldest son. He was going to take his dad's job, right? And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I had never thought about that." I love that we have so much opportunity here in America, right? But it can be a little overwhelming, knowing, what exactly, what profession should you choose, right? What area within that profession should you choose? And that's why I think life is a journey, right? You just have to keep moving. You just have to keep working and going down that path, and you'll get there. And as my one of my favorite movies of all time, Finding Nemo, what does Dory say? Just keep swimming, right? It's good to step back and reflect, but also when you're moving, when you're learning along the way, that's when I think that's where real things can happen. So think about it. What would you do if you could not fail? Write it down on your piece of paper. Put it in the chat if you'd like. Sometimes I think there's immense value in putting that down. I would like to write a couple more books. I have a paper that we just sent off last night, and I just feel like I have a huge load lifted off of me. I mean, we just sent it off for peer review. So, and it's on refugees, Ukrainian refugees, how to help them with communication and culture strategies. And what I discovered in working on this is on this paper with a team, there's a team of us, is there are so many more refugees out there, right? It's not just Ukrainian. How can this be applied to different refugees within the US? Now, unfortunately, we have a bunch of refugees from Gaza. We've had environmental situations, right? Many people from Morocco were recently displaced because of the earthquake. There's a lot of Pakistan, there was a lot of Afghanis that moved over into Pakistan during the war. And now, Pakistan's like, hey, wait, you all can go home now. How do we help people give them those tools that they can not only survive but thrive, right? Because they really need help. Some people said they need to take way more chances. Someone says help others by having them learn from the experience. I think that's so important. And I think that a lot of us kind of feel like we're islands unto ourselves, and we're not. I mean, people can learn from our experience. And that's one thing I've always taken quite seriously, because I was a first gen student in my family. So, I graduated, I was the first to graduate at every level. And many since have graduated, but I always took that responsibility really seriously to try to help and promote education with my family members, because I do think education is a driver to personal growth. The last thing that this book covers is creating high quality connections, and respect for ourselves guides our morals, and respect for others guides our manners, right? How can we create respectful engagement in the world? And I don't know if you all had this saying when you were growing up. We used to sing the song, "Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Nothing could be more incorrect, right? Words words are very powerful and they can hurt. They can be used in bullying, they can be used in gossiping, right? Starting negative rumors about people. And the list is endless. How can we create this respectful engagement in the workplace where we can listen to people, we can be kind, we can admire their abilities, right? We all have different skill sets. I feel like, you know, collaboration is the new competition, right? We all have such unique skills and abilities that, I'm up for a fun little amount of competition always, right? But make it fun, make it not toxic. How can we spread a little positive gossip in the workplace? Well, what in the heck does that mean? How can we spread positive things about people and share them? There's a story in the book about a woman who was talking to her friend about how great her mother-in-law was and how kind she was, how considerate she was, how much she loved her family, and she was not overbearing or overly opinionated and harsh. And she was talking about that, and that person knew her mother-in-law. So her mother-in-law, or the person, went and told her mother-in-law what she said about her, and the mother-in-law just beamed. She just beamed from, yeah, from ear to ear, right? Malik says you can share good news. Yes. I mean, you can share good news about people. My department head at EMU, Joy, Beatty, she shares out, or she sends out recently department brags. And in the beginning, I think people were like, oh, I don't know if I want to share this or whatever. And she sends out this list, and it is a long list of positive things that are happening in the department. And you know what? I just feel inspired, right? I read this and I'm like, oh my gosh, what can I do? What can I do to go out there and be positive? So just think about what are some things that you can do to create respectful engagement. I think a lot of it is about listening and communicating affirmation, right? When people say, share an idea, communicating what your thoughts are, encouraging others. Yes, Mariana, I love that. You can encourage others. How can you show empathy today? Who can you show empathy to today? Sometimes if you just put yourself in someone else's shoes, right, you kind of change your perspective, you change your lens that you are looking at a problem through. It can really, really make a difference. So how can you do this? And be helpful to those around you. How can we spread positive gossip? How can you stop negative gossip? When someone starts, bad mouthing somebody or, a situation, how can you kind of stop that? Say, I understand that's how you feel. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, but can we instead maybe focus on the positive aspects of this? It's, it's kind of transitioning from that negative into what can be positive, and that can be really, really helpful. Task enabling, something I just really love. So what is task enabling? It's a way to help someone else succeed, usually at work, on a project, task, or goal. It can be a way for someone else to help you succeed. It is a powerful pathway for building a connection that engages and energizes individuals while strengthening the learning and adaptation of the work unit or the organization as a whole. A lot of this work was done by Professor Jane Dutton from the University of Michigan. And she says that task enabling creates an environment where employees have higher job satisfaction. They experience less stress. they are more apt to learn, and they have increased creativity and innovation. Employees develop connections because they become mutually invested in the project. And that I love this visual because it's about lifting people up, right? It's about helping people become successful. And if you want to better yourself, try helping someone else better themselves. It will lift you up in the most amazing ways. How can you reach out today? How can you help someone succeed? Think about that. Let's take a minute and think about that. How can you help someone succeed where they're at? Sometimes it's just an atta girl, atta boy, right? Hey, you're doing great. Hey, you're really busting it, and I'm just so impressed with what you're accomplishing these days. That can really encourage somebody to go to the next level. So take a minute and think about that. And we just have a couple left here, but I see our time is really uh, going fast. I could talk about this all day, so I'll just share the last few, and then we'll be open for questions. But chapter 11 is all about trust. Are you dependable? And for those of us who remember Stephen Covey, who has since passed, but he is the author of the book Seven Habits for Highly Successful People, and he has since gone on and written many more books. Seven Habits of Highly Successful Students. I made each of my teenagers read that book. Marriages, companies, all kinds of things. But he says trust is the glue of life. It is the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It is the foundational principle that holds all relationships and generations, right? Trust is it's the glue. It's the glue that holds people in relationships together. And how can you be that person? Be that person that creates that trust in your organization. Sometimes you have to make yourself a little vulnerable to build trust, right? You need to. My kid's kind of adopted grandmother, she used to say, I'm not Man Mountain. I can't accomplish it all. Sometimes I need help. And I would find myself saying that sometimes too, making yourself vulnerable helps build trust with people, and it allows them to step up and be that person to be helpful. It's really hard to make yourself vulnerable, isn't it? But sometimes I find that if I don't, I can go down a path that I really don't want to go down. So I've been very stressed recently. And the other day, I reached out to my friend and I said, I need to talk to you. And we got on Zoom. And I mean, she's just one of my dearest friends. And she made me laugh. She made me understand what was going on. I was venting to her a little bit. And by the end of the conversation, we talked for about an hour. I felt like the old Kim again, right? So by making myself vulnerable and sharing that with her really helped me build my relationships not only with her but with other people, because I could go forward and be myself. Having those people that are in your corner, I think, are just so valuable, and that's one reason I love you so much, Chris. And then our last thing is play. And I love this picture of the puzzle because I had a student. She worked for Ford in IT, and in their break room they had a puzzle, a big old 500-piece puzzle, I think it was. And people would go into the break room, they'd work on it. It was a great stress reliever, and and then they would come together, right? So play at work is so important. It makes us be more productive, right? It takes the good emotions, and makes them more prevalent. When colleagues regularly experience joy at work, joy and play, you have a great culture. So in the book, we talk about when there is play in the workplace, people have less stress, they have more energy, their productivity is higher, and they have more engagement. So it's really about creating that environment where people want to come to work, right? Sometimes work it can be a four-letter word, right? It is a four-letter word. But how can you inject a more lighthearted atmosphere at work? We would always decorate a coworker space for their birthday, or when they had a big thing going on in their life, or a baby, or they were graduating or something like that. They would come in and their whole area would be all decked out. And that was so much fun. What creative ideas can you try at your workplace to make it better? Ryan says, ask someone if they want to learn anything from you that they might not know how to do. Yes. Be that person that shares your knowledge openly and frequently, right? It doesn't have a patent on it, right? Or a copyright. Share how you survived something or how you got through something. After I got my PhD, one of my goals was I'm going to get 7 hours of sleep a night. And I've tried to do that. So okay, we have about 5 minutes left, so let's think about some things, and I'm just going to share that all of these things that I'm sharing, it's really about diversity and inclusion, right? I love talking about DEI. I like calling it DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, because I do feel the purpose of this is to create a more inclusive environment. The purpose of all of this. Diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance, right? So many companies talk about the importance of diversity, but it's just lip service, right? How can you actively include people? So, chapters 13 is a toolbox full of exercises for the employee, and 14 is for the manager. And they actually can each be used, interchangeably. But we wanted to give ideas and tools, not just talk about things, but give people activities that bring these principles to life, right? That make them much more useful. So before we do these exercises, I'm not even sure if we have time. Does anybody have a question? Or Isa, do you want me to stop sharing so people could ask questions?
Um, yes, to know we did not get any question in the question Q&A section, but I think
Right.
due to the approach that you used, having interactive discussion and sharing some perspective,
Yeah, yeah,
so that's why maybe those points cover their inquiries and their questions. But it's
yeah.
still like we have 1 minute in case we have any question, anything, and
Okay.
then and
Does
then
in
you can still share the slides
Okay.
where we can go
Okay.
toward the last.
Oh,
But
oh, Shannon, I love your question. How can you purchase the book? It's on Amazon. It's on Dynamic Connections LLC, our website, if you want to take a look at that. It's also available in Kindle form. But yeah, that was does anybody have any questions about how we instituted this, or how um any of these methods? I kind of feel like the four fuses, they kind of build on each other. but yet each of them can be used individually. And we just really wanted to create something that could really make a positive difference in the world. We're all so stressed all the time. And one exercise that we had in the book is put on a timer for 1 minute and write down all the things you're grateful for. How many things can you come up with in 1 minute? I think the last time I did this exercise, I came up with like 25 things. And I just sat and looked at the list and was like, holy cow, I have so much to be grateful for. Right? Think about, this is from the manager's toolbox. Think about a leader that really stands out to you as an example of a good leader. What is the quality that makes this person really stand out to you as a great leader? Is it empathy? Is it inspiration? Right? How can you be more like that leader that stands out to you? These are kind of the type of exercises that we have in the book that can really help you think about how you can improve, of course, not only your workplace, but you as well. And I just really love Scamper. I had discovered this semi recently. And, I used to think, oh my gosh, you have to recreate something from scratch. You don't. Sometimes you can substitute just one thing, right? Sometimes you can combine two things. I love the SWOT model, right? But I like to combine it with SOAR. So I call it the SWOTer. SWOTAR, right? Because in SOAR, they use the same S and O as in SWOT. So how can you combine both of them, right? To create a little bit more of an appreciative look at things. How can you adapt something? How can you modify? How can you put something to another use? How can you eliminate maybe one little thing or reverse engineering? I mean, there are so many things that were invented in our world that they had a completely different idea when they were inventing it, right? And then along the way, it switched to something else. And so many drugs are that way. I remember the microwave was invented. It had a completely different purpose. What else? Sticky notes, right? All of the uses for sticky notes that have come up. So how can you get creative and think of different ways is really important. And I just really want to thank you all for today. I want to thank you for coming to the talk. Any other questions or comments before we go today? I think, I have mahalo there. So, I have that Hawaiian word. Thank you, Adam. I love to be engaged. I love the back and forth, and I hope it was beneficial, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barker. Wow, people who usually attend our webinars, we used to have the presentation without interactive approach using the webinar format. But today, I think we had a good and direct discussion and sharing of perspective, which is great, really. So on behalf of our OD&C and WPD program, we hope you think that webinar is helpful. If we did not get to your question, please send us an email to reach out to the presenter directly, as she shared her email at the beginning. Also, for future webinar, we would like to hear your feedback on today's webinar. Please take the survey using the link here and the slide. Our next webinar is about leading strategies, change and development by Dr. Fahad Al-Shawan on December 15th from 12 to 1 Eastern timing. Registration, as you know, for all events are free and can be found in our website. You can also find us in our social media platform, such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon.
And
Have a good day and have a good night.
you guys are just doing some great work. And thank you so much.
Thank you so
Isa
much.
and Jose, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.